Hi guys, this is NHL Black 58.
Hey everybody, this is Kaveen, aka Herbie's Revenge on Instagram.
We have decided to kick off a video series in which we interview coaches and players, specifically those of color.
And today we will be interviewing Jazmine Miley.
She is the director and the founder of the HPOC, or the Hockey Players of Color movement. Jazmine Miley, aka Coach Jazz, is originally from Queens, New York. She currently lives in Virginia, where she's rehabbing from an injury. Anyway, I don't want to give away too much. We're going to go right to the interview.
So really excited to get to talk with you here. I've actually never done an interview before, but
me neither. So, but I'm excited. I'm prepared.
Yeah. This is gonna be really cool, I think. So could you tell me a little bit about your first exposure to the game and what got you into hockey?
Well, I had just moved to Long Island, New York, and my next door neighbor, who was also new to the area, was having a barbecue, and one of the girls my age was just like, "Hey, do you want to watch me play hockey?" I'm just like, I don't know what that is. Sure, why not? Just trying to make new friends. And I swear it was like love at first sight.
Nice.
I told my mom, I was like, I want to play this. And from there was the middle of the season, and I was skating with 10-year-olds, and they were literally skating circles around me. 13 years old, this big, doofy kid.
Nice.
Nice. Now, when you first started playing hockey, I mean, what was the reaction from your family and your friends? Were they like, well, I mean, you're the only, player of color on your team, and maybe this is not right for you. Maybe you want to go do another sport. I mean, did you feel kind of alienated, or are you just like, hey, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to see where this takes me. So.
Yeah, no, I had played other sports in the past, and it just wasn't the right fit for me. So honestly, they weren't surprised, but of course, being the only colored kid, they were a little concerned, like how I would be treated, but not too concerned that they're just like, oh, you shouldn't try this.
Cool. Yeah, so you had what felt like some support to do something that was a little outside of the box right off the bat. That's awesome. Was it an ice hockey game that they invited you to? Is that was the format? Nice. Yeah, it's like hard. The first time you see the ice, it's hard not to fall in love, like once you're actually there. Right on. So I see like on your bios and your social media, you wear so many hats. You're a mentor. You started the HPOC movement. You're a professional hockey player, for God's sakes. Can you talk a little bit about like how much of that you're currently able to be doing right now? I mean, especially during the pandemic and what's technically an off season still.
Yeah, no, it's mostly just like networking, just trying to get the word out, like kind of just basically stalking people through the elite prospect and all the rosters. Cause like I know a lot of people that like, they could be of color, but they have a white name, like a white last name. So it's like, you have to look through each picture to make sure. So, I've done my creeping, but yeah.
I feel so much better because when I build my hockey card collection for players of color, I do that too. There's guys you would never expect, that have, like you said, white or Anglo-Saxon sounding names, and you don't know till you see a picture. And I've learned about a lot of great players that way. Cool.
Yeah. Now you're a mentor for the Junior Canes girls youth program, I believe, in Carolina, correct?
I was supposed to be a coach, but I kind of just had the decision. I was like, play professional hockey or hang up the skates and be a coach. So I told the head guy, I was like, listen, I know it's like last minute, but I hope you support me. And from what he told me, he was very supportive, and I was still able to help the U14 girls. So unfortunately, they were supposed to go to nationals, and I was supposed to come back and go up to Pennsylvania with them, but of course COVID had to ruin everything.
Well, I mean, Europe, I guess, not a bad choice. But, well, just following up with that question, where do you see like girls hockey, women's hockey in specific, maybe down the road in the next 10 years? Obviously, the professional women's leagues are kind of struggling right now. Hopefully, the NHL could step in and help. But do you see, possible, just like a women's league that the NBA has, as far as like they have the NBA, and do you see kind of a development with that, or?
I think so, but there is definitely a lot of work, especially with the NHL stepping in, because, you know, it's a brother and sister kind of thing. And
Yep.
it's going to take a lot. So, you know, definitely with the more exposure of women and girls getting more involved, I think it'll get there, but it's more of getting the politics out of it. That might be the hard part of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So when I first saw the HPOC movement on Instagram, I didn't pair it with you because it was just something I was scrolling through. I clicked follow, and it wasn't until Tracy organized this interview that I actually realized it was, put on by yourself. And I think it would just be like so cool to know what inspired you to do it. How long has it been in the works?
Well, I kind of started mapping things out in the beginning of like September when I was originally in Hungary playing.
Okay.
And it was just, you know, I was just kind of tired of just feeling alone with having to deal with so much BS. And like, you know, I had my mom, but, you know, especially it's different because of the age difference. And she's not always there to see it. So, you know, like, especially if I confided in, like, say, one of my white friends, it's kind of like well, what did you do to get that treatment? And then say, well, like, one of my Black or Hispanic friends is kind of like, oh, you're so strong to go through that, but not so much helping me and understanding me.
Yeah.
So
they empathize first, right? Yeah. They empathize first, and then they don't really blame you, it seems like, for what you went through, or spin it in a way that feels insensitive or that they don't understand.
Yeah. So, you know, I was very lucky to have, you know, I actually had Sydney Kinder and Kelsey Colzer as teammates. And it wasn't until around February where I had a heart-to-heart with Sydney Kinder. And we related so much in college hockey that, you know, what we had to go through shouldn't have been a thing. That, you know, we have to set something up so the future kids, whether it's men or women, don't have to go through that, especially alone.
Yes. Oh, wow. That's, amazing.
Now, from your personal experience, have you ever experienced anything racially or sexually insensitive, or did anybody say anything to you derogatory?
I would say when I was 16, it was like blatant, like I was straight up called like a straight up a nigger in front, like a scrum in front of the net, and I was just like, what? Like, this was just so like out of nowhere, like no build up or anything. And, you know, I was very fortunate to have an assistant coach that addressed it right away. But it's not always blatant words. It's a lot of microaggression, especially in women's hockey.
Okay. Yeah. So it comes from a place of like personal pain and alienation. And then also it comes from a place of feeling what it was like to have community and support, and just wanting to magnify that, it seems.
Yeah.
Right on.
All right, and now from your own playing experience, like what advice would you give young minority kids, maybe who have faced that adversity, or have said, you know what, someone said this to me, and I'm going to quit the game? Is there like maybe a philosophy that you have, or what would you say to motivate them? Say, hey, just stick with it.
I would say speak to your parents about it. You know, don't keep it in the dark. Don't bottle it up. And don't let, one of the things I actually have tattooed on my arm, he who angers you conquers you. So don't let them get to you. Don't put that in their hands to ruin the game for you. So, you know, I can personally say that I've been in many positions where I'm just like, F it, I don't want to play anymore. But, you know, when you put in so much of that time and effort, why am I going to give that up for them? It's like, I'm going to just, I'm going to prove you wrong, however you feel. And you never know. You can make it to the big leagues.
Absolutely. Yeah. I remember it sounds like such a common story too. It's like, I remember like Wayne Simmons giving interviews and being in the Player Tribune is like the best way to get back from him is to score a goal. And I think that's a great way. I think also, yeah, just he who angers you conquers you. Yeah. Like have a way of letting it roll off you a bit if you can. Or yeah. Yeah. Knowing who you are and having a strong foundation.
Definitely.
Now, just to follow up from that, well, obviously this year has been a lot going on with the Black Lives Movement, and a lot of NHL players have kind of stepped up and said, "Hey, you know what? Enough is enough with the racism." And surprisingly, a lot of the white players have actually come out, like Tyler Seguin of Dallas Stars, for instance, and Blake Wheeler. As far as having taken a stance against racism in hockey. And obviously, Akeem Malou has kind of formed his organization. Where do you see, as far as like inclusion and the fight against racism in hockey, maybe down the line?
It starts from the inside, down from, the players to the coaches and inside USA or Canada hockey.
Yeah. I was on a Zoom call like a month or so ago from some folks from, I think it was Queen's University in Canada. I'm not sure if you heard of it, but it was like about implementing anti-racism in hockey, and a lot of it was like echoing how important it needs, like it is for Hockey Canada and USA Hockey to like actually adopt actively anti-racist policies, and they actually had a sample policy paper that went with it and everything. It was so cool, and I really feel like it's part of this thing that I love that your group is called a movement, and rather than like a club or a group or something, it's a movement. It has that energy, the Black Power with the stick fist, and you're outspoken on social media. I love it. I was actually wondering what compelled you to use the term movement and use that energy and that iconography.
Honestly, it just kind of came to me like, I was trying to figure out because, I followed the Black Girls Hockey Club, and I was just like, club is a little, I was like, it didn't flow well with I had. So it was like a lot of like trial and errors. It's like so many papers crossed out. And I was like, it's not always, you want to include everybody, especially people who are brown. It's like not everybody who's brown is Black, especially being myself, I'm biracial. So I'm Spanish and Black. So I was just like, let's just do, players of color. So in the movement is just, we got to move through it.
Nice.
Okay. Well, following that, I'm glad you brought that up, because I know that you have roots, Puerto Rican roots. And obviously last week I did a story about ice hockey in Puerto Rico, which a lot of people came to me, hey, I didn't even realize, that was a thing. Now you obviously represented Puerto Rico because you were my cover photo. Do you feel that there could be a growth on the island, and not only the island as far as that goes, but like just in the Caribbean? Because a lot of people don't really know that there are ice hockey rinks, in Brazil, in Puerto Rico, in Nicaragua, Argentina. Do you feel there could be a growth as far as in the Latino community?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. I actually spoke to Scott Vargas, who is the one who's controlling the team for the LATAM Cup.
Yeah.
And, I told him, I was like, I'll move back to the island if I have to, if that means, making the game bigger. And, it's very fortunate that I think I've noticed like more of like guys who are Puerto Rican that, there's so much more in the States compared to the island. So, being able to just bring that to the island would be perfect.
Okay. Now also, where do you see your organization within the next 5 years? Like, where do you kind of see where it stands? Is there a certain number of memberships or mentors that you have, or like, where do you see yourself?
It's not so much of, getting money in my pocket. It's just, I want to be able to give back to my community, especially like in New York, there's a lot of hard times going on right now.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know a lot of people that are just, you know, they're just chilling on the block. And I'm known as the girl who plays hockey. So if I can bring that to, you know, to Queens or even the other 4 boroughs, that'd be great.
Yes, that's amazing. I mean, when you were coming up, I mean, we know ice hockey in Harlem is big. It's well known. Was there anything like that in Queens, or was there anything like that even for aimed at girls? And is there anything like that today? No, still no. Okay.
No.
Well, maybe you hope to be the first. I think that's awesome. I mean, if you had a dream scenario where you had unlimited funding, what would your program look like?
A lot of brown kids. A lot of brown kids. But in Queens, you know, we have Long Island City Ice. And I've spoken to, like, you know, the people who run the rink itself, and just, you know, their focus is on the boys hockey or figure skating. And it's just like, I told them, I was like, you know, I can come back home because I'm in Virginia. I can come back home and set something up. I know a lot of girls, especially through USA Hockey, to try hockey for free. And they're like, oh, we don't have enough ice slots or this or that. And I was just like, you're BSing it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to call a spade. Like,
yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful. You're taking, I mean, I hope you get to the Hockey Hall of Fame one day. You'd be in as a builder, because this is what you're saying. I'll go to Puerto Rico. I'll talk to the people. I'll work out the logistics of it. I'll do the outreach. Like, it's
yeah,
really,
you could be the female Willie O'Ree. I love it.
yeah. I mean, I think it would be like beautiful. Like, you know, a girl somewhere wants to play hockey. She's in the hood. She's in some neighborhood that might not really be familiar with hockey, and she can kind of throw up a bat signal to you, and you'll help link her up with the right people, right? I mean, that's kind of like the spirit of the mentoring, right? Is that you have a few people in a few different places, and you work on just making sure they're out there, they're known, and they can actually be real and be like, yeah, I'll come to you. I'll help you train. I'll help you figure out what this is really about.
Definitely, yeah.
How's the status of that? I mean, are people actually paired with mentors right now? Like, do you actually have engagement from kids right now?
We have a few. They're mostly on the younger side, like I would say under 14U.
Cool.
But, you know, it's better than nothing. And, you know, I have plans in the works, but, you know, it's in the air with COVID and everything, that in December, when I come back from Finland, if that happens once again, is to do a free clinic for kids to try hockey.
Word.
So, you know, just get that word out there. Like, you know, it's not about the money. That's the last thing on my mind. You know, whatever money is going to go towards HPOC, whether it's getting ice time, getting, you know, free gear for the kids and all that.
Nice. Yeah, so you mentioned and you said that if it happens, is the season up in the air, the 2021 season? Like, not sure if it's going to happen?
I know since I'm going to Finland, they're already practicing and everything. It's more of me getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Trace. I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask, do you have a favorite NHL team or player?
Rangers.
You follow the NHL?
Just the Rangers.
Oh, the Rangers. Yeah, New York. Okay. All right. Also, like you mentioned, being overseas. When you're over there, like, what do you like to eat as far as like main dish, dessert? Is there something like we haven't heard of that you like or over there?
Well, I mean, I'm a garbage disposal, so I eat just about anything.
Okay.
But when I am solely going into vegan.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that I liked the most was goulash in Hungary.
Oh, I love goulash, yeah.
Super good. Like, it was, you know, that homemade, granny made it. It was so good.
So as a former player myself, like, I wanted to ask you, what is your favorite on ice drill, and also maybe your favorite or your least favorite on ice drill? Do you have one, or you're okay with them all?
There's just so many.
Yeah.
Definitely, you know, there's this one that my travel coach had that you basically start from the goal line and you go all the way around to the other side to the goal line, then all the way back, and then you just from each line it gets shorter and shorter. I hate that so much, and that was one that like that was our bag skating, and you know,
Oh my God.
that was literally the worst. But one of my favorite ones, it was 2-on-1 with a point shot. So you know, pass the puck up, get that, rip it off the point, then the 2-on-1, then the 2-on-1 stays in front. Mm-hmm. And there's always that one person that's chicken to get hit with the puck from the defenseman that's getting the puck to rip it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Favorite one.
I'm familiar.
Coach is always just like, oh, you're like 7 feet, 200 pounds. Like, what are you doing? So definitely my favorite.
All right. Now, what type of music do you like listen to? What's on your iPod or whatever you have?
My music taste is kind of everywhere. I'm just not a fan of country music. Being a city girl, I'm not a country fan, and a lot of times the players like to play country music. I'm just like, how do you get hype off of this?
Oh, in the locker room, right? And you probably put your favorite music on, and you're like, oh, we don't want to listen to that. Right?
Literally. Yeah. This is one of the more common things that I hear every time I give an interview of people being asked, like, what is it like to be the only one in a room that's not white? And music seems to always come up. But one thing I never actually get to hear is, what is your pump-up music? Usually people just say, you know, the locker room doesn't always like my music, but I never actually get to say what their pump-up song is. So if you want to share, please do.
Like, you know, some trap, but like the remixes of like Linkin Park and all that, when they turn it into that trap and the
like mashup,
all that, I love those.
I love those.
Nice. Yeah, I love that whole Jay-Z Linkin Park joint they did.
Yeah, literally.
Show my age, but you know, I'm cool. Yeah, I was thinking a little bit about what you had said about the ice time and the cost and all that. And socioeconomic barriers are one of the things that get brought up more than anything to playing hockey because it's an expensive sport, etc. But what I do notice is that we don't often take this conversation past that and just say, oh, we have socioeconomic barriers. We don't actually think about like what our visions are for like addressing economic injustice in society, or like a new model of what we think should often be done. And I'm wondering if you had like a stance on that. I mean, like, what do you feel like really needs to happen here? Is it just, even if it's as simple as like large scale economic, equality measures, or if it's specific to hockey, like, you know, NHL has to give back, or teams that have the millions and, you know, have to give back? Like, what do you think?
Well, I feel like the NHL doesn't really owe anything, and it's more on the players personally to volunteer themselves, not a forced volunteer, not a team volunteer, for them to volunteer themselves. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the big things that I've noticed, you know, they're trying to implement that, what's the best way of putting it? Where they have all those commercials like from Bauer of like the little kids, and they have that one black kid. And it's just like, you know, hockey's for everyone, that they want you to try hockey, but they're not putting it in places where, you know, in diverse areas. They're going for areas that are more suburbs, the white suburb areas that are known to be a hockey area.
Yeah, it sounds like, just like with anything that we're talking about, investing in communities, even broadly when you talk about that as a social issue, you have to take that stance. It seems like if you're a corporation, you sell gear, or if you're a team, or if you're a player or whatever, you have to just invest it without necessarily having a profit motive, just with a development motive. Like, no, we just need to do this because it's the right thing to do, rather than how can we make the money? Because I feel like that's probably why they focus so much on marketing and growing and, you know, expanding the game in the suburbs. Yeah. That's tight. Well, I love the word movement, because it seems like a movement away from that paradigm and towards something else. And I really hope that the work that you're doing, and I think all of us, I guess, could call each other like parts of like this whole movement of like, you know, putting out more stuff about our experiences as fans of color and people connected to the culture. Right on. Yeah.
As far as I'm sorry, go ahead. As far as spending time with your dogs and doing CrossFit for your off season, and obviously with COVID-19 going on, you're kind of limited. What else have you been doing, just to stay in shape and stay mentally ready, to play hockey again?
Well, I had a little setback on working out because I had surgery on my hand. So
That's right. Yeah.
that kind of took me out a little bit. So I'm just started like stick handling and all that. So that was definitely pretty rough. But I just moved into a house. So that has really been my exercise, moving all the boxes and everything.
Do you have a timetable to get back on the ice?
Well, the nearest rink, they cater more to like the beer leagues and all that, but you're actually on a team. There's not much stick and pucks and all that. So if I wanted to get back on the ice, I would have to drive like 2 hours from here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's another problem.
And it's like at 8 a.m. too. So like all the beers are like chilling on the side of the road. So it's just
wow.
Yeah. As a player, like I don't want to assume that everybody's dream is to play in the NWHL if you're a female hockey player. I mean, I think they kind of market the league that way, but I mean, I just wanted to ask you, like, where would you like to see yourself ultimately? Would you like to settle into like a career in Europe that's like really unique? It seems like fun, exciting. Or do you have dreams to play domestically at the highest level too?
I mean, of course, I would love to play domestically. I'm very big in family. So that's what I do miss the most.
Right.
But in my personal experience, I know quite a few girls who are on teams that I'm just like, it'll be like high school drama. And once again, it's very political. So it's just like, someone and you're on the team basically. But granted, I give credit where it's due that girls who are actually skilled play, but there's some people that are just,
I feel it. Yeah. So NHL return to play soon. You planning on watching? You got any takes on who might take the tournament?
I have no idea. Being in Europe, I haven't been able to see like even the season, so it's kind of hard to say. But of course, I want the Rangers to win. But
yeah, they
I gotta be realistic about it though.
Right. They got some star power now with Panarin, and the rookie goalies are really shining right now. So
yeah,
they might have a shot at it. So yeah, I wanted to ask maybe a little bit more about the movement, and also just to check in if there's anything specifically that you wanted to add or say that we haven't mentioned yet, because I really do want to be as much help as I can for you getting the word out about HPOC.
Honestly, just to just share and just, whatever you post, just like keep sharing. Cause I understand like with the Alliance, my only concern with that is how far will they cater to players? Like, are they going to just cater to the kids that are at the top level? Because, for me, it's, even if you're in beer league or house league, we want to cater to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. When they say everyone, you want it to mean everyone for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Your playing style, you play defense, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What who do you model yourself after, or did you ever look up to a specific player when it came to like, I want to kind of, move like that person, or I want to play like them?
I'm kind of mixed between Sean Avery and PK.
Okay. I rarely hear Sean Avery mentioned in the company of like favorite players, but that's interesting. What draws you to Avery?
He's just a greasy player, just very, he says how he feels.
Okay.
And just, he'll go for the hit. If he has to fight, he'll fight.
Nice. Yeah. Chippy, controversial. Yeah. Seemed like a complex dude. Yeah.
Now, he had a rivalry with my guy, Brodeur, so I'm kind of partial on that. I'm a Devils fan. And Mr. Sean Avery went at it, so
you waited till the end. You waited till the end to tell me the Devils.
I'll let that slide.
My teammates, usually I'm best friends with the goalie, but if I'm playing against another team, I usually have issues with the goalie. So it's just like...
Yeah. Now, I saw that you graduated from Liberty University with a bachelor's in criminal justice with a
Mhm.
focus on crime scene investigations. So I wanted to ask this: back in the day, did you watch CSI? Is that maybe that's why you got interested in it? Is that hey, you know,
Yeah, no,
maybe
I'm
that's
big on CSI, Law and Order, and all the crime shows.
yeah,
Or yeah,
forensic files and things like that, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah, one of my final questions, and then we can move towards like, wrap up anything you want to plug towards the end of it. Is there, was there a moment where of like coming into like a political consciousness? I know you went to college. That's when a lot of people start to become more socially aware and start to really formulate, their view of the world. Or I was wondering if it was something that was just always within you and you decided to just like marry the two worlds of playing hockey and social justice after your experiences, or I don't know, a lot of people are just getting woke right now, so I'm wondering
Yeah.
curious what it is, with being a outspoken person for social justice.
Yeah, no, I would say, it was more being at Liberty that kind of, I wouldn't say opened my eyes, but kind of made me want to speak on it more because, we're coming to a time where there are more boys and girls that are getting into hockey. And like I said, I would hate to see one of them quit because they're being treated a certain way. And, I wouldn't put my experience on anyone else because it honestly sucks, especially dealing with the microaggression, because it's not, like I said, it's not always the blatant words, like,
I heard
like
that.
I've had girls like ask me like, oh, did you stake your finger in an electrical socket because your hair's so poofy or frizzy? I'm just like, great. Or they'll ask me like, is my hair real? Or they'll try to touch it. I'm just like, don't touch my hair. And, if I try to speak up on something I don't agree with, I'm the cancer of the team, or it's an issue, or I'm yelling. And it's just like, I know I'm a loud person because, being a New Yorker, we're just loud, but I'm just like, I'm not yelling.
Yeah, that's the stuff,
Yeah.
man. We hear about the slurs on the ice and all that, and it's so unacceptable. But sometimes the conversation stops there, and we don't really understand how deep it goes. It goes to, like, playing disparity, like, not knowing I'm getting benched because I'm...
Oh, I can go into that so
Right.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not always the people you play against, it's the people you play with. And that's, like,
Sure
the
hurts worse,
part.
man. Yeah.
It's like, we're expected to be a family as a team, but it's just like, I feel like I was alone majority of the time. And it's just like, you're not expected to be best friends because, like family, you don't like all your family members, but you tolerate them. It's just like, I shouldn't have to feel alone.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tracy, you got anything?
Now,
Go ahead.
well, I know that education, obviously, we just talked about your degree, is very important to you. I noticed on your website that you have kind of a bookstore. You have Black Ice, the Val James story, and also the Fosse Brothers book. So as far as like education, when you see a player and they're kind of struggling in school, do you have like any motivational words to help them stay in school? Or have you ever had like an instance where somebody says, well, I want to go to college but I don't know if I want to play because I want to be the only Black hockey player on my team? And have you ever had a situation like that? Or
I can't say that I have, but being the only Black hockey player on a college team, it can be very rewarding, despite, the little setbacks of whether you're being treated a certain way from your teammates or your coach. Like being able to be the first Black kid on the women's team in history is very rewarding. And, you can network a lot off of that.
Right on. Yeah, we're about to take it to time. We have about 5 minutes left. So I wanted to make sure I left some minutes for you to do. Like a shout out to anybody's work who you admire right now, anybody else you'd like to plug, any other projects or people or partnerships that you're building like with other orgs right now?
Yeah, Black Girl Hockey Club, I spoke to Renee briefly.
Yes.
In the beginning, before I even put my website out there, I told her what was going on, and her and Erica, were like kind of leading me what I should do, where I should go. You know, if I needed anything, I can contact them.
Nice. Yes, that seems so important. Like this whole thing of being connected, talking to each other, just being more upfront about like, hey, you know, we're out here, and you know, that always seems like such a take-home point for with Renee. It's just like stick together, treat each other like family, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, anything else at all? Because we can go ahead and wrap up here if we're done.
I'm good. I appreciate you joining us tonight. So this is our first time doing this. So.
Yeah, thank you. This was so fun, and thank you so much for giving us your time and letting us get to know you. It was a real pleasure.
Yeah,
definitely. The feeling's mutual.
So yeah, good luck
Appreciate
with everything, and hopefully we'll stay in touch. Okay.
Definitely. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, if you made it to the end of this video, shout out to you. If you want to follow what me and Tracy are working on, you can follow me on Instagram at Herbie's Revenge, where I focus on building a hockey card collection centered around players of color. And you can follow Tracy at NHL Black 58, where he does a lot of really great player biographies and some chronicles of hockey in what you might call unconventional places. So thanks a lot. Like and subscribe, and we hope to bring you more videos soon. Bye.